So, Aaron, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from?
I'm from the United States, and I live in Atlanta, Georgia.
Is that where you were born?
I was born in the South, in South Carolina, but grew up as a pastor's kid, did Christian school all my life, was a church kid all my life, and so I grew up with a whole bunch of guilt in my life. Actually.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah. So I grew up there, went to college there, met my wife. We've been married for 11 years now.
Congratulations.
And we have 4 little boys who are almost 10, almost 9, 5, and 2.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think you deserve a hand for that. That's fantastic.
All right, I guess. I think actually what I deserve a hand for is a week ago today, I got a vasectomy, so I'll be having no more children. No more kids from me, ever. And you're the first group I've ever told that. And I'm getting red.
That's all right. That happens when you tell that type of stuff to large groups of people that you don't know.
It's all right. We're family.
Oh, man. I feel like I know you so well.
Well, you got that Nicholas Bentner haircut, so I think it's all good.
Wow. All right. So if you grew up with, as you just said, all this guilt, where did that song come from?
Well, I had a great family actually growing up, and it was a good church that we were in, and a good school, and they taught the Bible and all this stuff, but somehow I grew up with this nagging sense that God was always mad at me, that I had let him down or I wasn't good enough for him, and I didn't realize how pervasive that was until having my own kids. And if one of them would mess up or they would blow it, I would punish them and I would want them to feel really, really guilty. And I'd start to kind of scratch my head and go, why do I do this? The punishment should be enough. Why do I want them to feel so guilty? And if my wife disappointed me, I'd want her to feel really guilty. And then if I let anyone down, I would feel really guilty. And I just started realizing, goodness, I think my life's a lot more driven by guilt than love. And so there was this one instance with the World Cup about 5 years ago, I guess, now. And I saved up all my money and I bought a big screen TV so that we could watch all the World Cup games at my house. And so I saved up, I got this big TV, we were going to have all these World Cup parties at my house, and I went on the road for a trip and I came home and I came in the room to see my new TV destroyed, just in pieces all over the floor. And I was going, what happened here? And so my wife tells me one of your sons threw his video game controller through the screen. So
So you're saying that you had 5 sons at one point?
Yeah,
and then it was
I used to have 5. No. So it was. I had to deal with him. I was ticked off. I was bummed, So I had to discipline him. And so I sent him up to his room for like 3 months, and then after disciplining him, I sat down on his bed with him, and he was only, I guess at that time he was only about 5, or maybe 4, and I sat down with him, and his name's Judah, and I said, Judah, I want you to know that I forgive you, and this is all done. And he didn't want to look at me. He just kind of looked like this, and I was like, Judah, I want you to look at me. I want to tell you that it's okay. And he didn't want to look at me. And so I took my hands and put them under his chin, and I just lifted his head so that we were eye to eye like this. And I said, I love you, I forgive you, and this is all done. And the next morning, I'm reading in Psalm 3, and in Psalm 3 it says, you, O Lord, are my glory, my shield about me, and the lifter of my head. And it was like the Father was saying, Aaron, I want you to look at me. I want to speak grace to you. I want to speak mercy to you. But I had spent all of my life, I hadn't even done anything. I don't know why I felt guilty, but I just felt guilty. Maybe from being in church, or maybe just from religion, or just from the enemy. But I just felt the Lord say, he kind of lifted my head, and it was like I was the little kid sitting on the bed, and he was the loving Father going, you're not guilty anymore. 2 Corinthians 5 says, he who knew no sin became sin for us, that we could become the righteousness of God in Christ. And so I just began to experience, I guess, the freedom from the mercy of God, what it means. And it was like chains just coming off of me. And finally stepping into freedom and further hoping to live in freedom and love and grace and not guilt and shame and condemnation.